You're listening to the Known Legacy Podcast, brought to you by Known Legacy Ministries. For more information, go to knownlegacy.org. Now here's your hosts, Bill and Travis. Good morning. Good morning. I finally had a morning where my coffee steam rose out of the cup.
It has been nice. The weather has been fantastic.
It's a good day.
It's good. It's good to see you, Bill.
It's good that my standards are so low that steam dictates how happy I am.
Well, I think it's just the idea that it's fall. You can feel the temperature change in the weather. I mean, it's like everything's about to die and fall from the trees. It's so fun. It's so exciting.
I love it. So it's funny because when I was from New York, it was like you could grab the leaves and like crunch them together and smell them, and you're like, and it smelled sweet.
Oh.
They don't do that here.
No.
They don't. They kind of stay on, and then like March, they fall, and like a week later, they're gone.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yep.
So I'm ready for it, though, so I'm preparing.
Kyle, welcome. It's good to have you back with us today.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you doing?
Wonderful.
Fantastic. Hey, listen, thank you guys for checking us out. As always, if you like what we're doing, man, if you could leave a review, we'd love it. We'd appreciate it. If you can share it with family, friends, and strangers and enemies, that'd be fantastic. As always, you can find us on iTunes and any number of podcast platforms. Always find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You can like us there, Known Legacy Ministries.
Smash that like button on YouTube.
That. Yep, absolutely. And as always, info@knownlegacy.org if you have any questions, comments, or concerns.
Yeah.
We are always taking questions for our hot take, which we'll record right after this, and it'll be released a week later. So if you are interested, definitely do that. And Bill, why don't you update us real quick on the book?
Yeah, things are
going
going good.
on?
Things are going really good, actually. I just kind of have my last design, so hopefully I'm hoping to still launch it by the end of September, beginning of October. Things are looking good for that. Excited about it. And, be on the lookout for it. We'll be sending some emails out. Continue for our launch team and things like that. If you're interested in being a part of our launch team, info@knownlegacy.org. Dude, we didn't even plan that. That was pretty amazing.
We're so good.
We are. It's like we're one.
And if you are in the Texas area or you want to travel, we have a retreat coming up.
It's coming up.
Mid-October. It's called Long Shot. You can find information on that. And it's we get together, we talk to the hearts of men, we eat a lot of food, copious amounts of meat, and we play games and shoot guns and go golfing and everything else. It is truly a fantastic weekend. So, without further ado, why don't you introduce us to our guest today?
Yeah, I'm actually, speaking of the book, I'm super excited because this gentleman has really been a huge part of kind of getting the ball rolling. I remember a couple of years ago, I was sitting there staring at a blank wall, and I had literally thrown my first book across the room, and it's no joke, sat there. I mean, my wife probably picked it up, but in theory, it just kind of sat there, and I was lost. And then I stumbled across, I didn't stumble, but I came across a group, how do I say it, like a saving grace called Book Camp. And the founder is a guy named Chad Allen. Chad is a 20-year career in traditional publishing industry with Baker Publishing Group and is currently a coach and a founder of Book Camp. Chad, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys. This is awesome.
Oh, we love having you on. I'm so excited. Usually it's the other way around because Chad does all these amazing interviews, and so I'm on the other side of the Zoom call.
Yeah.
And I don't have to have my camera on. I don't have to look good. I'm usually in pajamas or something bad, or like a duck sweater or something. I don't know. And drinking my coffee. Listen, Chad. But Chad, we are so glad to have you on today. I was so excited when you said yes, that you were willing to be a part of this. So, Chad, share a little bit about your story and who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was a military kid, grew up bouncing around all over the place, and then did high school and college in Nebraska, University of Nebraska-Lincoln, go Huskers. And I made my way into the traditional publishing industry. I bounced around a little bit. Actually, some of your listeners might be interested to know that shortly after college, I spent 8 months in Ireland with the stepson of C.S. Lewis. Douglas Gresham is the stepson of C.S. Lewis.
What? That's incredible.
I lived in his mansion in County Carlow, Ireland, in 97 to 98.
Wow.
And was sort of just served as a secretary for him, as a personal assistant. And that's really where I learned about the publishing industry. And from there, it was a short trip into the traditional publishing industry. I spent 20 years in the industry. I was editorial director for the Baker Books division and Baker Publishing Group for 7 years, and then decided to go out on my own and be a writing coach and start book camp. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm married, have 2 kids, a 15-year-old son and an 11-year-old daughter.
Oh,
and we're all
fantastic.
redheads.
So there's 2 things. One, I am so sorry about the Husker loss as they played in Ireland a few weeks ago. That broke my heart, and I'm sorry about that. I'm sure that hit home in some hard ways for you guys.
Yes.
Number 2, the bold step, and that's kind of our theme for this year in season 5 of Known Legacy, is being bold. And what does it look like to be bold? So I would love to know, what was your journey? Obviously, you were very comfortable. You had the job, if you could, at Baker, and you were comfortable. I'm sure you were successful. Things were going well. What in the world would possess you to lay all of that down and pick up this unknown, this uncertain, I'm going to go out and do book camp? And talk me through that process, and how did you and your wife come to understand and be on the same page with that? Just kind of talk us through that bold step that you took.
Yeah. Well, it's something I love talking about because I know there are a lot of people who have these inclinations, these intuitions, these ambitions, these callings to go out on their own and do something, which might appear to be kind of crazy to everybody else.
It does.
And I was definitely there.
Yes.
I mean, absolutely, things were going well at Baker. We were enjoying, record-breaking years. One of the things I'm most proud of professionally is I left Baker well. I still have very good, fond feelings for everybody there. They threw a party for me, even though I was leaving the company. It was just a great send-off. And I stay in touch with those people, love them to death. But I just knew I had this calling that I wanted to go try something. And yes, I had many conversations with my wife. She's much more risk averse than I am, and so
that's typically how it works.
To get to the brass tacks, we started building a fund, sort of a cushion fund for the transition. And we figured out what we needed. We wanted to have a year's worth of expenses in the bank before we made this transition.
Wow.
And we had a number in mind. And when we got to that number, I was like, so can I do it? And she's like, well, what about health insurance? We got to figure out. So I was like, okay, I'll figure out health insurance. And so I did. I figured it out. And I was like, now can I? And she's like, I guess so.
That's incredible.
So that's all I needed. And it's been great. It's been 4.5 years. I'm still growing it, still learning stuff. It is a challenge for sure, but there's nothing else I'd rather be doing. It really is a joy. So that's it in a nutshell.
I mean, it's amazing because, that's like being willing to be that. But I guess the question is, how did you know that it was a calling? Because that's a good part where a lot of guys are like, I have this idea, but how did you come to clarity that you knew like this is the calling that God put on my life?
Yeah, for me, and I don't know how it works with other people, but for me, it really was this internal sense that some of it was restlessness. I mean, I loved my job at Baker. I loved what we got to do. I loved everything about it. But there were things that I was restless about. And I felt like I could see the way forward at Baker if I wanted to stay there. And I just knew that like, no, there's something else. So I don't know. I think, God gives us the desires of our heart, right? Like I had this desire to do something else. And I didn't know exactly what that was, but it started with a blog. Like if anybody's contemplating this, I would encourage them to think about what's one little step you can take in that direction. Like don't necessarily tender your resignation today, but like what's one little thing you can take. And for me, it was starting a blog. I read Michael Hyatt's book, Platform.
Okay.
And that really inspired me to start a blog. And so every morning, early in the morning, I'd wake up. This is back before we had kids and when our kids were really young. I'd kind of sneak away to a coffee shop for an hour before my workday started, and I started typing away and blogging, and one thing led to another. So
that's really cool.
I think it's interesting because it's that one little step or that one little how do I put it, like that one little like one tiny thing that some people disregard and like, well, I need to jump all the way in. I loved it. I mean, what were some of the, I guess I'd say some of the fears that kind of jumped up? I know we talked a little bit about it, but like, I mean, I know that there must have been some conversations, but okay, maybe I'll put it this way, because being married, these guys just jump right into it and they jump in. But how did you walk towards that with talking to your wife? Like, how did you kind of handle some of those things that kind of came up? I mean, how did that work out? How long of a period did that actually take before she was like, okay, I'm actually seeing this?
I'll be honest, it really helps if you're making some money and you can show her that you're making some money. And it really helps if you have a bunch of money in the bank, just in case,
Yeah.
And I mean, really, like, she wanted to know that the lights were going to stay on, that we could continue feeding the kid. Like, it was just that pragmatic. And so I mean, I think it borders on irresponsible to just jump into this without any of that preparation done. And I'll be honest with you, like, the number we wanted to have in the bank was for us a big number. And I thought when we initially came up with that number, I was like, oh gosh, this is, I mean, my hopes were dashed. I was like, there's no way this is going to happen. It's insane. How could I ever get that amount of money in the bank? And then slowly you start putting, every time I made a deposit in that account, I was like, this is my future. This is my future. And then
cool.
Something happened. I mean, it's kind of sad, but my grandma died and left us some money. Known legacy, right? Like, she left this legacy of money. And if we hadn't had the plan, I don't know what we would have done with that money, but we knew what we were going after. So it went right into that account. That helped a lot. I mean, it wasn't everything, but it helped a lot. And lo and behold, we got there. So again, I would say to anybody listening to this, if you feel like, I do need a cushion like that, but there's no possible way, just start putting a little. It's amazing what happens over time. You just keep chipping away at it. So that would be my advice.
Well, and I think the beauty of that is, again, it's this old principle of a little bit of sacrifice today for a preferred future tomorrow can really add up over time. And it's an investment. That's what you and your wife were willing to do to make that happen. So tell us a little bit about Book Camp and kind of the genesis for this idea to becoming a platform that's going to help people get their ideas on paper in such a way that it can be used and inspirational to others. And kind of like, what would it mean for a dope like me who's like, man, I got some ideas, but I'm not an author. Well, I don't think I'm an author. Talk through that a little bit.
Yeah,
I'd love to. So, I spent 20 years in the publishing industry, and I thought, wow, there was a book I read by Brendan Burchard in which he said, you know what, people would be happy to pay you for what you know. And it was one of those light bulb moments where I was like, really? They will? And then I thought, well, I do know a few things. I wonder how I could invest in others to help them make their dream a reality. So it was kind of that thinking that led me to do some coaching initially, started a course, and then eventually it culminated in Book Camp. So what we do inside Book Camp is take people on the journey from establishing a writing habit to getting a website up to building a platform to developing their book concept, to writing a book proposal, to pursuing one means of publication or another, and then launching and promoting. And Bill is just about there. We're super excited to help him send his book into the world.
Let me tell you, we're all excited for this thing to finally be birthed in such a way that we have like stuff to give away. It'll be so exciting.
Yeah. So it's a journey. I mean, you don't write a good book overnight. It takes a while. You certainly don't write a good book that also has an audience ready to go. That's not something that happens overnight. So my vision was, how could I offer an affordable solution to people where they could get into a community of people who are doing the same thing with me who, hopefully I know something about publishing. How can we go on this longer term journey together in a way that helps maximize the impact of these books in the world? That's the animating vision, and it's been a blast. It's just been terrific.
So as you've had a chance to coach some folks through this process, I have no doubt that a lot of your conversation with them is how to manage discouragement and how to manage drift, because you talked about just having little habits and how those little habits will pay off over time, whether it be financially putting money away so that when you make the step, you're not, just foolish. But also the habit of just writing 500 words a day or 1,000 words a day, whether you're going to use it or not, just write every single day. Right. As you approach guys and gals that are wanting that but are finding discouragement along the way, what would be some advice or some words that you would share with them? How would you coach them out of that discouragement? Because I think a lot of guys in their faith life even, they have the best of intentions, but then a week goes and a month goes, and then before you know it, they're in the same spot they were 3 months ago, where they had the promise that they would never be there again, and discouragement can set in, and then hopelessness, or just like, this is what it is. So what would you say to a guy wrestling with discouragement, or a woman for that matter?
Yeah. Well, I think a huge part of this is being in community, being able to like just talk with other people, or share in a Facebook post what you're going through. I see this in our Facebook group all the time. People are like, I'm just discouraged. Can somebody encourage me? And people show up in droves, like, hang in there. What you're doing is worth it. So I think, one of my friends likes to say about most things that are worth doing, you alone can do this, but you can't do it alone. And so I think there's some real truth in that. And I can't write the book for you. None of us can, but we can be with you on this journey. So my advice, number one, like, don't try to do it by yourself. The myth of the hermit writer is a myth.
Right.
We need each other. And so when you get discouraged, you need a community to fall back on. You need somebody to, pick you up and dust you off and send you back on your way. So I think that's what I've seen make a huge difference in the lives of so many writers, is just a community, a supportive community.
And being a receiver of that, it's been really good and encouragement, because you do see that there is a lot of discouragement. It's almost like, it's not like joy and discouragement, but you're like, oh, you're just as discouraged as I am. That's good. Like, at least it's part of the process, because we do
misery likes company. Is that what it is?
That's it. I guess so. But the idea of, we see that all the time there's almost like an encouragement in that. Like,
right.
Especially when it comes to the walk with Christ, you're guaranteed discouragement. The enemy, again, we talk about time, the thief came to steal, kill, and destroy. And so how, trying to fight through that discouragement was literally the question. And so even after you left, what were, as we talk about these, what are some of the hurdles, like these legitimate hurdles that maybe pop up? You've started your business. What are the big hurdles, even for those who are like, I want to do this, or I'm halfway through it, or maybe it's the person who has this dream or this passion and they've put it aside for a couple of years.
Right.
How do you get past those hurdles again? Like, what are some things you would share about that?
Well, like a big one that comes up a lot is just getting that first draft down. Because, an average nonfiction book is 50,000 words. That's a lot of words.
Yeah, it is.
And so, how do you do that? A.J. Harper, in her book, Write a Must Read, she talks about how the first draft is just math. Meaning, if we use your 500 words per day, if you do the math, you can figure out how many days it's going to take to write 50,000 words. Except you better make it 60,000, because you're going to want to cut a lot from that first draft. So, it's teaching people to be persistent, to let them know that if they miss a day, it's okay. Try not to miss 2 days. Keep at it. I'm training for a marathon right now, and I've missed some training days. But my coach told me, it's not about missing a workout here and there. It's about what you do consistently over time, and the same applies for getting that first draft done. So community, persistence, and just taking the next right step. Those are the things that you have to do. And if you take a break for 2 years, it's okay, right? Like, if you're still feeling called to get your book into the world, it's never too late to start again.
Yeah, I feel like this actually applies for everything. Like,
yes,
you just shut down. Like, the guy was like, because again, I know we're still dealing with some people from 2020 who've just felt like deflated, and so not to bring up that terrible 2020 that happened, but part of it feels good because it almost causes us to go, okay, fresh start, a fresh start. Let's step up. Hey, it's the fall, something new. You know what I'm saying? Start fresh today, make the next step, be willing. But I love the idea of community and persistence, and then take the next step. It's super valuable.
Yeah.
I love it.
I talk to a lot of 20-year-old people, and God bless them, I love them, but they are so financially illiterate, and I think this kind of thing also applies to them and their finances, because they just feel so underwater and they feel like it's so out of control. And it's just like, first off, be as honest as you can. Stop hiding from it.
Yeah.
Know what you're doing, know what you get, and then a little bit every single day, make that happen. I think it's absolutely huge. So my other question is there a market for a 20,000 word book? Because 50,000 is way out of my
short story.
Short story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, don't let the tail wag the dog. I mean, if you can say what you want to say in 20,000 words, please say it in 20,000 versus 30 or 40 or 50,000. You'll be doing us all a favor.
It's like the pastor who speaks for like 50 minutes, and you're like, you probably could have done this in maybe 15.
15 tops.
And you just keep talking.
Your seventh illustration doesn't help make your point at all at this point.
Just pass the plate so I can leave, okay?
Yes, exactly.
So how can they hear more about book camp? Like, again, how can they hear more about book camp? Kind of where can they sign up, all that kind of stuff if they're interested?
Sure. Bookcamp.us is the book camp website where people can see all the information. You can learn more about that journey that I was talking about before. And then I have a blog too, chadrallen.com, where I have all my free content. I've published well over 200 blog posts on everything from becoming a better writer to building an audience. I'm trying to remember what my most recent post was on identifying a good fit publisher or literary agent. How do you do that? So that's the kind of stuff I blog on.
Yeah, and you're on Facebook too. I know that, so I've seen some of that stuff. But so we'll make sure that those links are provided in all the podcast notes and things like that. But Chad, this has been awesome. It's been super encouraging. As we continue to wrap up, I would love to. Do you have any other questions?
No, I think it's fantastic.
This has been awesome.
That, as we're talking about being bold, I love your approach on. There's very practical things we can do in the world to help others get their story out, whatever that story might be. And I love the fact that you were bold. You had a plan. You were disciplined in that plan, and you developed a community around you to make that happen. And that community started with your wife. And I think as guys are listening to this, just continuing to encourage you that God has put something unique on your heart that is a gifting and a calling to you, like you said, Chad. It's a calling to you, and He is going to gently but persistently remind you of that calling. And we can turn down the volume as much as we want, but He is faithful, and He will continue to whisper to you. And so maybe for some of us that are driving around or listening to this, we're like, man, I got nothing like that. Well, maybe it's because the noise is a little too great. So going for a walk and just exploring that question, like, what am I uniquely gifted? What am I finding success in my life, and how can that be used to not just serve a company or the bottom line of an industry, but really be a blessing to guys and gals as they journey into this world, to give them purpose and give them meaning. And I think that's one of the hidden things of book camp, is it gives people meaning and purpose beyond just getting a paycheck at the end of the week and then blowing it all on the weekend and then waking up in drudgery and doing it all over again.
Well, no, I'm grateful that you stepped out 5+ years ago to begin this journey, because it's definitely impacted me. I know that it's impacted others, and I think that if we can think about it that way, that the sacrifices that we're going to make, that we believe God has called us to something, that in the midst of it, that if we just kind of deny that calling, what are we missing out on? Like, it's this idea that, and I used to still say VCR tapes, but I remember when I was a kid or when I was younger, it was this idea of there's going to be a day that God's going to pop the VCR tape in of your life. For those who don't know, it's like a big tape deck, and it was kind of like reel to reel. But even now, he's going to pop in the DVD of, man, this is what you could have done. And I just want it to be as accurate as it is to what I believe God has called us to. So just know that if you're stopping yourself from a calling that's on your life, that God has so much more to not just impact you. It's not for us.
Right.
It's for everybody else who comes after us. I know that Chad's benefiting from this, but so many others are benefiting from him being faithful.
Right.
Honestly, I don't think I would have been writing books right now if it hadn't been that I stumbled across book camp. So I think, thank you for your faithfulness, but also to those who are listening, get up. Make the next step. Do what you need. If it's not writing a book, if it's something else, know that God's calling you to it. I pray that God will continue to annoy you towards your calling.
Yeah.
That you cannot sleep
Yeah.
until you're like, hey, honey, we need to do this. And she's like, I need enough money in the bank. You're like, okay. And then that's your first step. She's not a burden. It's a blessing. And you're doing this together, and because again, we've said it before, if if you're on your own doing your own dream, you're just taking a vacation. You're not really pursuing it because it's away from your family. So the idea that now you're doing this with your spouse, with your kids, to say, hey, we're on the same track. We're going to do this. It's the adventure.
Right.
But think about what God could do if you stepped out and did it. So Chad, thank you so much for that.
Absolutely,
been
Chad.
great. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, appreciate
Well,
it.
as we wrap up, did you have anything else you wanted to share?
No, I think what you've offered is really valuable, and I just, my hope is that people are feeling hopeful as they listen to this.
Yeah.
It really, I mean, I think we can fall into this all or nothing type thinking, like I'm either fully pursuing my dream, my passion, or I'm just not. And the reality is there are lots of steps along the way.
Yes.
So take those steps, and incrementally, if you stick with it, and you have a good community around you that you can lean on, you'll get there. You'll get there. At least that's been my story, and I trust it'll be your story as well.
Oh, I love it. Each step at a time. Well, as we're taking the next step, we have a little segment here called Fast Five.
Yes.
There it is for you, Chad. So I got some questions for you. You ready?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What would you have for your last meal on Earth?
I would have steak, roasted Brussels sprouts,
Yes.
and a baked potato. Maybe with like a dry Merlot or something like that. That's what I would have. Yeah.
The steak ones always get me, especially at 9 a.m. I'm like, I'm so hungry right now.
I know.
It just sounds amazing. And the Merlot, hallelujah. There's worship in that.
There is.
That is true worship right there. All right, okay, Stranded Island, what's one album or musician you would want to listen to forever?
Just the whole catalog for U2. And if I had to pick one album, it'd be Joshua Tree, but I will never get tired of listening to their music.
It's so good.
I'll tell you, Joshua Tree, I like the B-side better than the A-side.
Okay.
Like the whole backside of that album is just so rich and so, it's fantastic. And I mean, you're staying true to your Irish background, and
That's right.
well done,
That's
sir.
right.
Well done.
Absolutely.
Better than Sinead O'Connor, I guess.
Way better than Sinead O'Connor. Sorry. No, if you're a Sinead O'Connor fan, I'm sorry. But yeah, U2 definitely trumps.
info@knownlegacy.org and let Bill know all of your hate and why Sinead O'Connor should be on that
Oh,
list.
good
All right.
gracious. Oh, no. Okay. Guilty pleasure. What's your guilty pleasure?
Oh, yeah. I have a couple.
Okay. I like it. The Merlot's already out, so you can't say that.
Chocolate covered peanuts. I love those.
Okay.
But not the glossy ones. The other kind, like the double dippers. I love those.
Ooh.
And then I've been watching. So there's like a dessert and then a media version. Better Call Saul. You guys?
Yes.
Netflix? I'm enjoying that. But I do feel a little guilty when I watch it.
Yes. Yeah. It's depravity and everything, but it's such good writing.
This is a safe place, Chad.
Thank you.
Have you seen El Camino?
No, I haven't. Is that good?
Have you seen Breaking Bad?
Well, I saw the first episode. I know everybody's like, if you're watching Better Call Saul, you've got to go watch Breaking Bad, and I haven't.
Best series ever to me.
Honestly, the writing is incredible. And then,
Same writers.
I was watching it with someone a couple weeks ago, and then they had the privilege of literally putting on El Camino. We had like 2.5 year wait for El Camino. I'm like, what the heck? This isn't fair. So, kids these days will never know the benefit of being able to watch the next season right now. So, anyways, okay, good.
Time.
Nice. Okay, so what's one word or phrase your wife would use to describe you?
So what's funny is we were both getting ready this morning, and I was like, hey, hon, if you had to pick just one word, I almost said, and you were feeling kind. If you had to pick one word, to describe me, and you were feeling kind, what would it be? I'm going to ask her that again. But this morning she was busy getting ready, and she's like, "Chad, I'm trying to get ready." So, I think a word she's used in the past was creative. Creative.
Okay,
Oh.
yeah, that makes sense.
I'll take it.
I could see creative. I could see that, especially with the s'mores. That's a little inside thing for the book camp. You can only get it if you're in book camp, so
All right.
it's between me and Chad now.
Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Okay. How do you want to be remembered when you die?
Oh yeah. I want to be remembered as a good friend who was present. Like that
I like that.
was like with my kids, with my wife, with my friends and family, that I was there, that I was tuned in, that I was ready to listen. I hope that's how people remember me. That's a great
That's
question.
awesome. That's awesome.
That's a great answer.
Yeah,
That's
it
a
is.
great answer.
Yes, it is. Which that was awesome. I'm like, about to cry over here
About to go home and tell my wife, I really apologize for not being present.
for not being present. I need to be present. Okay, bonus question. I don't know why I say Fast Five and I always do a bonus question, but I just like the bonus question. So, Bennett, bonus question: what biblical character would you want to have lunch with? Not Jesus.
Yes. Boy. I honestly, like, some of my first thoughts are like Peter, John,
Yeah.
but then I go to like Nicodemus, and then eventually I get to Judas. Like, I would just love to sit down with that dude and like
Yes.
hear his story. Like, so anyway, that's
good.
So I jumped. I didn't give you just one. I jumped around a lot,
But that no one's ever said Judas, because you're right. It is like, I mean, you don't
He's
think
the
like
villain.
Well, it's funny because even in like every painting, it's like, Judas looks like he's
Right.
like, and you're like, what if he started out? Again, that's really good. Wow, wow. Now I'm just processing the fact that how long did it take? Because
I feel like there's a 50,000 word story to be written about dinner with Judas.
Dinner was Judas.
Ooh,
Maybe
there we go.
20,000 words.
Maybe 20.
There we go.
Maybe 20,000
With-
words. We don't
with
know. We'll figure
10
that
pages
out.
of pictures that you could color in.
Do you guys do
I'll be
coloring
waiting for
books?
it, Travis.
Okay.
Do you do coloring books? I'm asking for a friend. Do you do coloring books? Because if so, I got a guy for you.
Sure, absolutely. Let's go for it.
These are the worst drawings ever. Why are they stick figures? Travis, this is not good.
There's no coloring in here. It's just lines.
It's just lines and stick figures. Oh gosh, Chad, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for being a part of our group today of the podcast. Again, check him out, ChadRAllen.com or bookcamp.us. Check it out if you're interested. If you're ever even thinking about writing or being a part of it, you will be blessed by this. This has personally impacted me. And Chad, any final words, Chad, or are you still there?
I'm still here. Yeah, thanks
Good.
for having me on, guys. And if anybody out there is contemplating a dream that they, maybe it even feels like a pipe dream at the moment, I just encourage you to hang in there. If you keep taking the next right step, you'll get there eventually. So persistence pays off.
Persistence, community, and come up with a plan. I love it.
Love it,
Hey,
love it.
as always, info@knownlegacy.org. If you guys have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. Number two, man, if you like this, share it, and always subscribe. If you can give a review, we'd always appreciate it. That the algorithm gods always love that. Keep an eye out for Bill's book that should be dropping here in the next month or so. And in October, we are going to be in LaGrange, Texas, for a conference for Known Legacy, and it's a Long Shot is the name of it. So we'd love to see it. It's our third year there. We're excited.
You can check all that out at knownlegacy.org. All that stuff's available on the website, knownlegacy.org. Guys, thank you so much for watching today. Chad, you're a blessing, brother. I'm grateful to have you on here, and I just we just are excited to see what's going to happen next with Book Camp. Sign up, check it out. Guys, thanks for watching. Have a great day.
God bless.
Thanks for listening to the Known Legacy Podcast. We'd love to hear from you, so email us your questions or comments to info@knownlegacy.org.